This is Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network, brought to you by the Iowa Soybean Association, your daily recap of the information that affects Iowa's farmers, producers, and consumers, right here in the heart of the heartland. With reports from our award-winning broadcast team of Dustin Hoffman, Riley Smith, and Mark Magnuson. Now, from the IARN studios in Des Moines, here's Riley Smith.
Well, good day and welcome to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Today is Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. We're so glad you could join us today. In this episode of Ag Matters PM, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan for our weekly chat. We also have a check of that ag weather outlook, but first, let's run down the markets.
It's time now for the Ag Matters PM Closing Market Summary, your source for market analysis and settlement prices from the day's trade in Chicago, courtesy of the folks at agmarket.net.
Well, we're at the end of another trading day in the ag marketplace, and for a bit of analysis, we go to Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. First off, Robin, what have the grain markets been doing today?
Well, basically, the grain markets are kind of funny because, well, a lot of markets are that way. It all depends on what the traders are focusing on. Yesterday we had some stronger prices, and today we kind of fell off again, at least in the soybean market. You know, we're looking at the upcoming World Agricultural Supply Demand Report tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Time. Always is a focus, as the traders start looking ahead to that, maybe squaring up some positions, whatever. But we did see the pressure come in on soybeans today. Corn down slightly, wheat a little bit of a rebound after the real pressure that came in yesterday. Just mainly, I guess most of the trading was just kind of jockeying for positions probably ahead of that report. Now, they're anticipating the reduction of Argentina soybean production and corn, probably more so on the soybeans. There's been some discussion yesterday where we looked at below 30 million metric ton, even down to 25. The average estimate right now for tomorrow is 36.3. So USDA is a little bit always conservative on some of that, but maybe that's fairly close. They could trim it that much. On the corn side for Argentina, they're looking at 43.2 million metric ton. That's down from 47 in February. Not quite so much of a reduction in that. Brazil, the same for both corn and soybeans from their February at 125 million metric ton for corn and 153 million metric ton for soybeans. Now, one of the things with Brazil that came out today was Brazil bean crop is basically so large that farmers are running out of storage space. Now, they don't have as much storage space as we have generally on farms, a lot less, and then they run it to the elevators, the storage facilities, but they're running out of room. So there's basically some forced sales going on, trying to get the stuff moved out into the export market. Now that can put some pressure on our market. The corn harvest in Brazil is about 35.4% done. So where it's kind of an interesting scenario we're looking at there when we're looking at their production for this year. Now, our ending stocks, the trade's anticipating an increase of 30 million bushels for the corn, up to 1.299 billion bushels. Soybeans down 6 million from the February estimate at 219, and wheat up 8 million bushels to 576. So that's what the trade's going to be looking at, and the market will react relative to which side of that it ends up on when we get those numbers tomorrow.
Right, of course, even though we're focusing on the grains right now with that WASDE report, what's the other side of the marketplace looking like in the livestock complex?
Well, livestock was we did see another new contract or new contract highs again in feeder cattle. It just seems like nothing's stopping those, but we have a lot of good buying interest in the auctions, and that's because of the outlook for the stronger cattle market. But we did make some new contract highs in there. We didn't do it in the live cattle market. Yesterday, live cattle were stronger. Traders weren't waiting around to see what's going to happen. Today, it seems like they tempered that a little bit. Now, Packers didn't put any bids out today in the cattle market. Offers in the South are 166 and higher. So that should be at least steady, if not $1 or more higher. I think we could anticipate maybe more than that as we move into the week. We had 23% of the cattle sales from last week for deferred delivery, but we've seen that a number of times now, and it really didn't have a lot of impact on higher cash. Packers are not in the driver's seat. The feedlots are in the driver's seat, and they're basically letting the Packers come up and get it because we've got some good demand, and cattle numbers are tight and looking to be tighter. Box beef today was down 56 cents at the midday count, and select was up 3 cents. So not a lot there. That changes into the end. But basically, I think now the trade is probably in the situation of the live cattle to see exactly how aggressive those Packers will need to be this week. We're not going to go higher forever, but where we're going to draw that line, I don't know. They are pulling cattle forward. Now, in the hog market, that really came under some pressure in the deferred contracts most of the day. It did rally around the noon hour in Central Time for about a half an hour there. Then it kind of fell back when you're looking at some of the deferred contracts, primarily June. There's not the solid support into that market. Now, China's pork production and imports are expected to grow this year because their zero COVID policy has been relaxed, and there's looking at more demand coming in for them. Now, the morning report on cash was down 51 cents for hogs after being slightly higher yesterday. Tuesday, usually we see some strength. So far, we haven't seen cutouts. We're up 41 cents. Hopefully, we'll see a little bit more Packer interest later in the day. Maybe it's the higher cutouts again, maybe for the second day in a row, could provide some support. But the fact that hog futures did rally off of those lows where it sat quite a bit of the day does provide some hope again for traders, does provide some hope for farmers that maybe we're starting to see some kind of support coming into that market.
Lots of great information today, Robin. For those of our listeners and our viewers who would like to get in touch and learn more from the folks at agmarket.net, how can they do that?
They can call me directly at 877-256-3253 or go to our website, agmarket.net. Phone number's on there. Anybody that's available will be glad to pick up the phone and help you.
Well, thanks for taking the time to visit with us as always, Robin, and we look forward to, we'll probably see you next week as we will be down in a Commodity Classic for the rest of the week, visiting with some other members of the Ag Market team as well. But we'll see you next week, Robin.
All right. Yeah. Enjoy yourself down there. And it's always a pleasure being on with you.
That again was Robin Schmahl of agmarket.net. We'll go ahead and take a look at how those numbers close. That's courtesy of the folks at Bar Chart. May corn is down 2 3/4 at 634 1/4. December new crop down 3 even at 567 even. May soybeans down 13 1/2 at 1515 1/2. November new crop down 5 3/4 at 1373 1/2. May soybean meal down 560 at 487.80. Soybean oil down 179 at 58.66. Chicago wheat up 2 3/4 at 698 even. Minneapolis spring wheat down 10 1/2 at 852 1/4. Kansas City hard red wheat up 1 1/2 at 799 1/4. May oats up 16 1/2 at 341 1/2. On the Merc, April live cattle down 12 at 165.97. May feeders up 95 at 204.20. April lean hogs up 132 at 84.80. April pork cutout down 30 at 90.05. March Class 3 milk down a nickel at 17.73. And that's been a check of the markets here on Ag Matters PM. We're going to go ahead and take a quick break to hear from our sponsor, the Iowa Soybean Association and the Soy Checkoff. When we come back, I talk with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Glisan. This is Ag Matters PM.
Iowa Soybean Association is driven to deliver for Iowa's 40,000 soybean farmers. We're proud to provide objective agronomic research, a helping hand with soil and water stewardship, and timely industry news powered by the Soybean Checkoff. Learn more at iasoybeans.com.
Welcome back to Ag Matters PM from the Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network. I'm Riley Smith. Well, today we're talking with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan, like I said, for our weekly chat, but as we get closer and closer to planting season, it's more and more important to keep track of those weather conditions, especially those drought conditions, as we've been dealing with those over the entire winter and even before. So just kind of taking a look at how those things will shape up to be, as well as just the month of March in general. Here is Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. Well, we're here today with Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan for our weekly chat and a check of that U.S. Drought Monitor. First off, Justin, how is that Drought Monitor looking for the state of Iowa?
Hi, Riley. So actually the second week in a row that we've seen some improvement, especially across the southern part of the state, where our soil profiles are basically thawed out. So we had an existing D2 region in southeastern and southwestern Iowa, and those two regions were removed last week. So they were upgraded to D1 and to D0, which is that abnormally dry category, not drought, but a reflection of shorter term precipitation deficits and dryness. Now, across northern Iowa, we still have frozen soils. An interesting thing that we heard from field agronomists on a call that I had yesterday was that the ponding that we saw from last week's rain and snowfall event, where we saw lots of rain in culverts or a lot of runoff into culverts and onto roadways and even in fields, looks like this moisture has soaked in at least a little bit. So that leads me to believe that the frost levels aren't as deep as some of the monitoring stations are showing.
And like we talked about last week, kind of before that first big freeze, we still had moisture in the soil that kind of prevented it from getting too deep. Is that what the case was there?
Absolutely. So when you have wetter soils, they don't freeze as deep or as fast. So it provides somewhat of a thermodynamic barrier. And then across northern Iowa, when you get a snowpack on top of that wetter soils, that even if they're frozen, it helps insulate those soils so you don't get a deeper frost level. And that's where I think we've seen, the top layer of soil relatively squishy. That's where you're getting infiltration as you go through the freeze and thaw cycles. You're actually mechanically pushing this water further down into the profile. So once we get the frost out of the soils, we'll get deeper infiltration of the surpluses that we see standing in fields or even getting those tile lines running as well.
And then with those kind of snowpacks that we've seen from the snow events from the past couple weeks, got quite a bit of snow, especially up to the north. Is that kind of melting down right now? Is it melting down at a good pace to where we're not seeing too much elevated water from that? And I kind of just guess, how is that going into the soil right now?
Yeah, it's a gradual melt. We have a disturbance that's going to come through the state on Thursday and Friday that could give us anywhere from 5 to 8 inches up in northern Iowa. Now this will be that wet snow, so it's a faster melting snow. But overall, we've melted a lot of that snowpack up there. Our eyes turn to the upper Mississippi Basin, where we've had snow water equivalents in that snowpack near record percentiles. So this could give us the flood potential on the Mississippi side as we move forward into spring if we do get into a rapid thaw event. We're not seeing those in the temperature outlooks right now, but with the amount of snow water equivalent within those snowpacks, we could see flooding again on the Mississippi side. Not so much on the Missouri side, but overall, we've had a good amount of melt of those existing snowpacks and hence an increase in at least topsoil moisture.
Right, and looking forward, what are we seeing from those temperatures and especially those weather conditions? Because over the weekend, we did see kind of an active lightning thunderstorm go through the state. It didn't really drop too much on the ground as far as precipitation goes, but could we see more of those thunderstorms, into the future in this month yet as we get into spring?
Yeah, a lot of pop-up thunder showers over the weekend, very isolated, but of course you get rumbles of thunder and lightning out of those. If we look at the outlooks getting into the middle towards the third week of March, we're still seeing indications of below average temperatures and also a wet signal. So in terms of temperatures that we expect through March, it's looking like these could be rain and snow events, a mixture of these two precipitation forms. March is just a very transitional month. So, of course, we've seen all modes of weather. We've seen snowfall. We've seen severe weather as we did last March, just past the anniversary of the Winterset tornado. But overall, transitory month. So of course, we're going to see all modes of precipitation. But again, it looks like a wetter pattern is locked in.
Right, and of course, we are still transitioning from that La Nina to an ENSO-neutral weather condition. What's an update on that? How is that going so far?
The longer range climate models are still pinging a high probability of a transition to La Nina or to ENSO-neutral from La Nina. Now, again, it will take several weeks for the atmosphere to respond to the ocean. So we look at these colder than average sea surface temperature anomalies in the Pacific during La Nina. We'll start to see a transition to near normal sea surface temperatures. And that's when in ENSO neutral conditions, the atmosphere decouples and we don't see a response. So we're still, it looks like, on track to see that in the March, April, May timeframe. It just might take a few weeks.
Right, and then kind of looking maybe a little bit further, so obviously you might have to peer into your crystal ball a little bit, but last year around this time we were seeing those active storms, and like you said, a year after that Winterset tornado. What are we looking at for severe weather so far? I mean, might be pretty mild?
It's difficult to tell. We can get some proxy ideas from our outlooks. If we're seeing elevated probabilities for wetter conditions, especially in March and April across the eastern two-thirds of the state, as we move from large-scale wintertime behavior to more thunderstorm-driven behavior as we get into spring and summer, seeing those higher probability outlooks for wetter conditions does suggest more thunderstorm activity. It's just the nature of the season. It's hard to get a seasonal severe weather forecast. We're good about drought and we're good about flooding, not so much on severe weather. But again, the outlooks are showing higher probabilities of more precipitation, which does hint at more thunderstorms.
All right, Justin, is there anything else weather-wise with the state of Iowa that our listeners and our viewers should know about today?
No, with these improving conditions that we've seen across the state and the wetter conditions that are in the outlooks, provide information from your farms, from your production, to give us an idea if the modeling that we're seeing right now is matching up with what we're seeing on the ground. We're implementing the Iowa Drought Plan right now, which was a 14-month endeavor with the Department of Natural Resources and Homeland Security. So we've got trigger levels built in. We have enhanced monitoring that we're doing across the state. So having those on-the-ground observations only help us do a better job as we start to improve, or if we do get into a drier signal, which we're not seeing right now, we could easily backslide, especially in northwestern Iowa, where we've seen longer-term precipitation deficits.
And again, if those farmer listeners want to get in touch, how can they do that?
My direct phone line is 515-281-8981. My email is justin.glisan@iowaagriculture.gov. Please give me a call or send me an email, and we'll get those observations or anything that you need from me, get you to those.
All right. Thanks for taking the time to visit with us today, Justin, and we'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Riley.
That again was Iowa State Climatologist Dr. Justin Glisan. And speaking of the weather, let's go ahead and take a look at that ag weather outlook. Well, the weather has shifted colder again as we are consistently seeing temperatures within the 30-degree range, whether that's low 30s to upper 30s. For the next few days, at least, we also have a chance for precipitation mixed in there as well. So it looks like winter's trying to get one last bit of glory before it transitions into spring. But after that, we're looking at mid-40s again as we get into that spring weather. So let's go ahead and see what the National Weather Service has in store for the next 24 hours. As you can see from the National Weather Service, the weather's going to be slightly colder for a little bit here. Today we have cloudy to mostly cloudy skies with a slight chance for rain in the southeast, highs ranging from the mid-30s to upper 40s. Tonight we have cloudy skies with rain or snow likely across much of the state, lows ranging from the low to upper 30s. Tomorrow there's a chance for rain or snow throughout most of the state, highs ranging from the mid-30s to upper 40s. And taking a look at the affiliate weather map for tomorrow, Cherokee will see drizzle and snow likely with patchy fog and a high around 36. Shenandoah, chance for rain and a high of 41. Des Moines, rain, snow likely and a high around 40. Waterloo, chance for snow and a high of 42. Albia, chance for rain and snow as well with a high of 42. And Clinton is the outlier for tomorrow. It will be mostly cloudy with a high around 45. For more detailed forecasts in your part of the state, make sure to check in with your local Iowa Agribusiness Radio Network affiliate. That's been a check of the Ag Weather Outlook, and that also brings us to the end of this episode of Ag Matters PM. You can find all of our content on our website at iowaagnet.com. You can also follow us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And you can find all of our video content as well as previous episodes of AMPM on our YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell to see when those videos go live. Don't forget as well our free twice daily market podcasts on Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and Podbean. From the IRN studios in Des Moines, I'm Riley Smith. On behalf of Mark Magnuson and Dustin Huffman, we thank you for watching. This has been Ag Matters PM.